I want to read from the 12th chapter of the Gospel of St. Luke. And I shall read 5 verses. In the meantime, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trod one upon another, he began to say unto his disciples, First of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which we have spoken in the air in closets shall be proclaimed upon the housetops. And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body, and afterward they have no more that they can do. But I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Fear him which after he hath killed hath power to cast unto hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him. I have an insight this morning that I gathered from reading one of my favorite writers, Reverend David H.C. Reed, who is minister of the Madison Avenue Presbyterian Church. And from this passage, I get a statement that he read. It was religion without wrappings. And Dr. Madison told an experience which he had had. He said he was wrestling with a piece of bacon, with bacon rather, and it was in cellophane paper, hermetically wrapped. And he had a difficult time trying to unwrap it. He knew it was there, but he could not get to it. It was so firmly wrapped. And he said the genius who had wrapped it and sealed it must have been had sealing operations designed for eternity. And I think sometimes some of us have this sort of situation with things that we're trying to unwrap. I've often gotten embarrassed trying to unwrap things, because the skill to unwrap a lot of things that we have to deal with must be a very great skill. Among other things that we must see in the history of our times is that of the history, and this will be an age of packaging. I think we've never seen so much of packaging. And no people have ever had the foodstuff and the literature and the cosmetics and the philosophy and the politics and the science and the finance and all of this that we have in our time. For we are constantly wrapping, we are constantly cartooning, we are constantly putting something in packages. And there must be millions of people who are employed, not in producing goods, not in producing ideas, but in wrapping them up. And the packing industry is indeed a big industry in itself. Packing is very necessary for convenience and for hygiene and for protection. And we could hardly imagine a society without packages and without packaging. But the question comes, is whether we have reached the point of confusing the package with the contents. Whether we are concerned more about the beauty of the package than we are about the contents on the inside. And most of us probably regret to destroy a lot of beautiful packages that we receive. They are so beautifully wrapped, and people spend a lot of time going to get a gift wrapped. And they take they pay different prices for types of paper and colors of paper to get it gift wrapped. And it comes to you so beautiful, doesn't it? And sometimes you look at it and you just wish you didn't have to unwrap it because it's so beautifully and carefully wrapped. But there's no point in just looking at the beauty of the wrapping. The contents are the things in which we are interested. The invention of printing, for instance, was a triumph of packaging, for it meant that a huge store of human wisdom could be sealed and delivered to millions of people around the world. And the great institutions about which we know and with which we have to do have served mankind because things have been packaged and have been wrapped carefully and passed down from one generation to another. Great institutions of learning, Congress, Parliament, courts of laws, universities, museums, trade unions, charitable organizations, and the church, of course. All of these serve as wrappings for the enduring principles to which our civilization lives and upon which our civilization lives. And were not for these wrappings, for the cartooning, for the putting together of ideas in institutions, planning things, we would have lost so much. And we would probably have been in the dark ages still. But somebody has put together things, have packaged certain things for us so that we can find them. Wouldn't it be interesting if you had to go back to the time you had to barter? You had to go someplace, one place to get this and one place to get another. But we have put things together so that you can go to a department store and get one thing. You can go to a bank and get something else. You go someplace else and get another. But it's all been put together for us. And people who attack these wrappings of the past with violence and revolution will lead mankind back into the jungle. And all people you hear talk about destroying the systems and destroying institutions, they don't realize that it took a long time to build institutions and to build systems through which we work and live and labor. And I realize that some of our systems need changing. But I don't think we ought to think in terms of violently destroying systems, because many of them have been built up across the years. And we live through and by many of these systems. I talked to several of them some time ago, and I had one young man tell me that the systems that we have today will not last more than 5 or 10 more years. I don't know how he knows that. But these systems through which we live and work and move are systems that have been built up over the years by thought, by planning, by organization. And so with the church is, in a sense, nothing more than the wrappings of the past. And the gospel has been put together by people across the years and across the centuries. It didn't come to us overnight, but it has been picked up across the years, and the gospel has been preserved for us. It had been kept for us. It had been wrapped up by us in the scriptures, in rituals, in creeds, in councils, in experiences. And so the gospel has been picked up by us, coming across the years, wrapped in experience. A lot of people didn't have words to put it in. A lot of people couldn't write, but they had experiences of the gospel. And they have shared the experiences with us. And we live by those experiences. My mother and father, neither one could read nor write, but they had a rich experience in the love of God and about the gospel. And they shared their experiences with their children. And so the gospel is shared. It is wrapped. It is kept. And we too must pass it on. We too must share it with somebody else. We too must remember that it's not something we are to keep, but it's something that we are to share. And you get more out of sharing than you do in keeping. And so the wrapping of the gospel has not always been preserved just to keep, but to share. But now, without the wrappings and with the wrappings, the gospel has not always been pure. And with all of the sharing of the gospel, it has not always been pure. But without the worship and the witness, we could not have had a continuing Christianity. It hasn't been all that it might have been, but it has been shared by witness. It has been shared through worship. And one of the things we do when we come to church, we've come to share the gospel. Not necessarily to preach it alone, but to share it, to feel it, to move with it in our hearts, in our minds, in our conscience, and then to take it along into the streets to share it with others. There may be a danger in our times that the Spirit of Christ might be sealed off by the wrappings of organization. And I fear sometimes that we are going to get mixed up in the wrappings of the gospel, that we forget the spirit of the gospel, and that we get the church so wrapped up in organization that we think more of the wrappings than we do of the content. And that's why it says so often about us that we don't get all hung up in organization. That we get all confused and I belong to this and I belong to that and I'm president of this and I'm head of that. That's not important. And if we don't watch ourselves, we'll get mixed up with some very beautiful wrapping, but no content, no gospel, no spirit, no hope, no love, no sharing of the will and purpose of God. I wonder if you're like in your life, and I have had large, beautiful wrapped packages, and I've had somebody to give me a package, a great big box. And then I would open that box, and then there was another box. Then I would open that box, and then there was another box. And then it went down from box to box to box, from something way up this size, down to something very, very small, just from box to box. Paper and box and paper and box. And way after a while, I come down to the content, and way down below, there's a little bit of something. But they eluded me and fascinated me with this big box. And I expected so much to come from this big box, but they just chopped it down and cut it down, and finally, it was just a little bitty box. And so much of our life is like this. So much of our life is boxed up with a whole lot of boxes and a whole lot of packages. There is a growing resistance today to these wrappings of religion. And this may be what some of the young people are trying to tell us. This Jesus group and all of these other young people that are doing a whole lot of things that are unconventional as far as the church is concerned. And maybe a lot of us are not paying any attention to what they're trying to say to us. Or might be saying something to us about the fact that Jesus is overwrapped. It may be that some of us who lead the church and who lead in organized religion, it may be that we have Jesus overwrapped. We got too much ribbon on top of it. And we got so many boxes and so much paper. And it may be that some of these young people are trying to say that we've got to unwrap Jesus. We've got to take him out of some of the organizations and some of the wrappings and some of the covers and some of the things we are saying about him, rather than just keep him wrapped up and covered. Maybe they want to see the real Christ. I think we've got to reduce our wrappings and reveal the real. And what really matters is the breakthrough of the real in all of our lives, in all of our experiences, in all of our religious activities. We need to cut down to the real in our lives and in our experience. The real gospel, the real Christ, the real self, and the real church. You know, we can put ourselves into neat little packages too to impress people. We can put ourselves into little packages where we can wrap ourselves up and put ribbon on top of ourselves and look very pretty to ourselves, don't we? But I think all of us know whatever we put on and however we may wrap ourselves, but in our own hearts we know where there is any real value in our own personal life. And we don't like to look at the real self. I like to see myself robed up, and I like to see myself wrapped up. I like to see myself with pretty paper on me. I don't want to look at myself unwrapped. But Jesus says everything that is covered will be uncovered. We're not willing to open our hearts even to other people. We try to bluff everybody, and we try to fool everybody, and we try to impress everybody. And there's so many people going around now trying to be so impressive. As I was just talking the other day, I was in a convention, I shouldn't have said it, and I was talking about how we going now for degrees. And everybody in meet now has got to have a degree. Everybody's got to be a doctor. Everybody's got to have a degree. And if you don't call everybody you meet that just started preaching day before yesterday, doctor, they get mad. But Jesus, I believe, I know he is concerned with reality. And degrees don't make anybody. People make degrees. There are a whole lot of people I know in this world who are dying by degrees. brothers and sisters, new life comes to individuals and to churches as we learn to remove the wrappings and be ourselves. And new life comes, real life comes, when you are willing to remove the wrappings and be yourself. You can be happy. You can be contented. You don't have to sham. You don't have to be a hypocrite. You can just be yourself and be happy. The Lord spent a lot of his time liberating people from these unnecessary wrappings. He told his disciples to beware of the scribes and Pharisees and beware of these people. He said to you, you have to watch them. They're hypocrites. They don't mean what they say. They don't mean what they are doing. Beware of these people. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. Beware to eat what they're eating. Beware. You know, Jesus is suggesting that we cut loose from the things which clog and access to our Father. Things that keep us from getting to God. There's probably no one here who has not at some times carried excess luggage. I know I have. I remember the first time I went abroad. I'd never been out of the country before, and I took so many clothes. I took so many bags. And some of you went to the airport to see me, and I had all of these bags. And the first stop I made, I discovered I didn't need them. First thing, I couldn't handle them. Had too much. Didn't need it. And there's so many people carry excess luggage through their lives. They take a lot of stuff they don't need. And take a lot of stuff that become burdens to them. And there are a whole lot of things that we take in our lives that become burdensome to us. And a whole lot of things we try to carry as Christians that become excess luggage. They're too heavy to carry. And there are a lot of us who try to carry a lot of things in the world and then outside the church and then run the same thing in the church. It's too heavy. You can't run everything out in town and go to everything in town and be in everything in town and be a part of everything in town and then be a part of religion at the same time. Christ speaks of the Pharisees as being hypocrites. And he said, beware of them. You know, most of our wives, the housewives, you've heard them talk about giant-sized packets of something, and you see all of these things advertised. And then when you open it, everything has shrunk. You hear it on TV, and you hear all of the commercials, and it's something new and something fresh, and it's just $2 for $1 and this, all this sort of thing. But when you get it, it all has shrunk. And we all know that bright colors and fancy ribbons and gleaming celluloids and telephones and the rest of it, we know all of these things are rather shoddy. They don't mean so much. They look good, but they're shoddy. And we always buying something without seeing it because we heard it announced. Maybe the church should be more concerned about her real content than her fancy wrapping. It may be religion ought to be more concerned about what God is trying to do with us and for us than we are about the wrapping of religion. Religion is well wrapped up. It's in pretty packages all over the world. Everywhere you turn, you find a lovely package of religion, all kind of faiths, all kind of names, all kind of terms. Religion is beautifully wrapped up. It's wrapped up in all kind of names, all kind of people, black and white, and everybody. You go to one church it's white, and another church is black, and all over the world you have people all mixed. It's beautifully wrapped up. But if God were to come to analyze, if God were to come and break through some of these packages, I don't know what he'd find. I don't know what he'd say. He may say what Jesus said when he went into the temple. Not only that, brothers and sisters, but that our close individuals should be more concerned about content. As individuals, as Christians, we ought to be more concerned not about the wrappings of the outside, but the content on the inside. We have a lot of neatly packaged prejudices and ill will and envy and selfishness. We have it all packaged up. And all through our churches, we have it all packaged up. But we need to break through some of these packages and let reality come through. It's better that we open our little packages ourselves than have God open them. For he said that it shall be opened. The things that are closed will be opened. And the things that we have covered will be uncovered. Content is what matters in the Christian faith. Not your window dressing, not your package on the outside, but content. And when Jesus comes back, he isn't coming looking for packages. He isn't coming looking for ribbons. He's coming looking for heart, contrite. People that have been born of his spirit. People who love him and who care for him. People who have concern for other people. I see a lot of beautiful cartons and wrappings. And at Christmas time, that's when you see them really. At Christmas time, you see all of these wrappings and these cartons, and they're so pretty. But a day after Christmas, all of these beautiful wrappings are gone. And the garbage man comes by and picks up all of this stuff. Didn't amount to anything. Beautiful, but didn't last. All of these ribbons and all of these decorations didn't last. They had to pass. And brethren, all of our sham, all of our hypocrisy, all of our pushing for advantage and for power, all of this will pass. And the only thing will last will be reality. And don't bother about what people say about you or what they think about you or your behavior and your attitude. If you are right in heart, if you really believe in God, if you can trust God and wait on him, don't bother about the wrapping. But be concerned about the content of your heart. Well, that's the only thing that remains. Jesus is concerned with spiritual substance. Jesus is concerned with spiritual substance. We read a great deal and we hear a great deal and we do a great number of things, but we must think more and more about the reality of serving God. I hear people talk about the reality of serving God. God will judge us on content. He will judge us on what is really there. And so, brothers and sisters, remember that if you're wrapped up and if you're tied up and if you're hung up in the matter of ribbons and packages and only the beauty, external beauty, you'll get lost. You'll be disappointed. You'll really be let down. For all of this will pass, but the reality will abide. Now abideth faith, hope, and charity. These three, all the rest is gone, but these three remain. May I urge us to forget the wrappings of religion, to forget the ribbons, to forget the flash of religion. And we've got a whole lot of that to get rid of, because more and more we're getting flashy, we're getting showy, and we're getting to be exhibitionists. We're getting to a place where we want to show off. But more and more, we've got to be real. And brothers and sisters, don't try to do what everybody else does. Do what God puts it in your heart to do. And whatever he puts in your heart to do, try to do it to conform to his will.